Your assessment then of the PMI data, slightly softer than the prints that we saw in November.
Yeah, good morning, Tom. Yeah, it's slightly lower than November, but as you can see at the level 51.9, it is still a level that's consistent with very solid growth, right? So, I mean, Chinese economy seems to be holding up pretty well in spite of the second wave, on the external side, right? So in fact, I think ever since we get the November economic activity data, we have become more constructive on China's growth outlook in the near term. So we have upgraded our fourth quarter GDP growth forecast as well as first quarter in 2021, due to the surprising strength in exports and industry activities, as well as faster catch up in service consumption and also manufacturing investment. Right. I think overall the story is still that, hey, the sequential growth momentum will gradually ease, in down the road, right? After I think the first quarter in 2021, you're going to see exports start to lose some momentum, right? Because there will be structural shift in global demand, and then there will be policy normalization on the domestic side. But still, for the full year, our full year forecast stands above consensus at 9%.
9%, yeah, we want to get your views on that call and a little bit more detail shortly. But I just want to get your sense of how balanced this growth picture is in China, because you touched on it. You talked about the exports, which of course have been surging on the back of that demand from China's trading partners for things like PPE and tech products as well. And you've also had the infrastructure spend. But what you hadn't seen, at least in the last few months, was the services and the consumer picking up back to pre-pandemic levels. Are we starting to see that happen now? Is it becoming a more balanced recovery that we're seeing?
I want to say that's definitely the story for 2021, right? You are going to see the driver of the growth starting to broaden out from just investment and exports to consumption service, and within investment you are going to see the driver broadening from infrastructural and the real estate investment into manufacturing investment, right? So I think that is the outlook for 2021. I mean, certainly I would say at this moment, if you look at the weak link of the economic recovery, it's certainly the consumption of service. Right. So, for example, when you look at the catering service, it's still negative in terms of year-on-year growth, right? And when you look at the tourism, recreational activities, still, well below 2019, level, right? So to that extent, at this moment, you still see that, recovery is, uneven recovery. Right. But I think this means, well, going into the next year, that means there is a second leg for China's economic recovery. And that second leg is indeed coming from the consumption and also service activities once the pandemic is, getting control, and then, the country is reaching herd immunity.